House Rep ends prayer with amen and a woman. Is that what we're doing now in today's standards? Welcome to Why It Matters podcast, where I talk about anything going on in the news, whether that be general stuff such as movies, comic books, or stuff that are harder subjects like the news, any sort of gender, anything on stuff that people don't seem to talk about anymore, especially in the churches these days, as I am a Christian. And today I wanted to talk about something that I found quite odd, and most people did from these standards, and that is a House representative in the Democratic side went and ended his prayer with amen and a women. But even worse, people aren't paying attention to the entirety of his about 1 minute to 1 minute and 30-second prayer that had numerous inconsistencies and really should have rubbed Christians the wrong way. But let's just get into it. All right. So first, we're just going to go off of the main thing that people were talking about and is laughable in its own right. And that's him making the word amen gender neutral or whatever you would like to call it by ending it with amen and a women. And that's just, this guy has been serving in Congress for since 2005, and clearly he needs to be clocked out soon because he can't just change up words that have nothing to do with gender. Is that what we're doing in today's society? Everything has to be so gender just infused that anything that even remotely sounds like the word women or men has to be infused with each other, because if one said without the other, it's insulting, or it's downright evil to do so, which is just laughable to think about. And yet this guy on national television praying as a pastor ends it. And he recently came out with the response by saying that he didn't mean it in the sense of changing the word, but he did it as a way to just identify and to recognize how we have so many women working in Congress today than we have been in the past decade or so. Even then, just, I don't know, maybe signify and thank the men and women who are serving in the Congress before you start the prayer, or tweet about it, or something of that standard where you would like to, I don't know, just actually identify them as a person and thank them in person or on camera. Don't you think that would have a longer and just a better response than to, let me add on to an existing word and make it where it doesn't make sense at all? I mean, the word amen has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with what he was talking about. A women, that is. Switching it up like that just absolutely baffles me of the stupidity of some people. And the fact that he is working in Congress and he's in a place of power and thought that was a good idea. I wonder what other good ideas he's got rattling up inside his head. Anyone else? I don't know. But to me, that was not the part that baffled me. The part that baffled me was the lack of response from the rest of the prayer. The rest of the prayer went like this. So it was a regular type of prayer, asking God for favor in our nation, the normalities of sorts. But he goes and he actually prays and says to the monotheistic God, which that word means that it's the belief of there's only one God, just one. That's what that word means, everyone. Just one. Then he goes and prays and mentions Brahma, which is it's the Hindu god. So he mentions God, and then he goes, and this is a pastor, everybody. Don't forget that. He goes and mentions a Hindu god, and then he contradicts himself by saying, and to all the other gods of all the other names. So he contradicts by using the word monotheistic by saying there's only one God. Then he mentions one God, which isn't the one that he claims to serve. And then he goes and switches and pretty much says that, like, every god of every religion is the same God. It's fine. They're all, like, the same. I was very confused, and it's only a minute and 30 seconds speech, and yet I've had to listen to it 10 times because I'm just like, I have no idea what you're trying to say here, buddy. And then he ends it with the amen and a women thing, and I'm like, did this guy not get enough sleep? What? Is he tired? Is he just rambling? What happened to you the night before, buddy? No other Christians or channels or anywhere did I see where they pointed that out. That he is a pastor. He's a Methodist pastor. And yet he goes and mentions a different God. And by all means, this is a free country. If you're going to go and you're going to serve whatever God or lack thereof, atheist, whatever, that's the freedom of choice that we have in this country, the freedom of choice to do what you want, serve who you want, choose the lifestyle that you want. I'm a Christian, but I don't blame you. You do you. That ain't the lifestyle I choose, but you're going to go and be a pastor, a Christian pastor, and then mention a Hindu God as after you say one and only God, but then almost backtrack and say there's many gods of many different names and it's fine. And I'm fine if he doesn't want to, in a way, he doesn't want to just like call out every other religion and be like, my religion's the best, if that ain't the play. Like, what he serves is what he serves. So if he's going to mention God and Jesus, that's fine. But if he didn't want to like call everyone, but to say that every god of every religion is the same God and they're all malleable to each other and they all just are the same, it doesn't matter in that way, that's very, that hit a nerve in a wrong way. I don't know why I haven't seen anyone talking about that one yet. They just thought the amen and a women thing, which was absolutely hilarious. Don't get me wrong. I laughed with everyone else. But I laughed at just the sheer brain cells that I lost listening to those final 10 seconds of that prayer, because good grief. I've heard children give prayers better than that. That was laughably embarrassing. That was just beyond. Next time, someone else do it. Please, don't put that guy up on any stand with a microphone. Or else the Democrats, I wouldn't want him on my side, I'll just say that much. But I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get the responses. I don't need a riot. I don't need an outcry war over a minute speech. But I'm baffled at the lack of just general talk when things like this happen. I'm baffled at the differences and what we choose to talk about in today's standards, of just the inconsistencies in his prayer when a prayer is not a joke, and yet we would rather speak about the 1 10-second funny part and just forget about everything else that he said. I find that baffling. I find that just wrong. And I think as a nation, we should do better. As people, we should do better at noticing things. We should do better at speaking up on things that are more important to speak up about. Like, yeah, it's fine. Make a joke about the part that's funny. That's, laugh a little. Whatever. It was a dumb thing to say, and I'm sure he won't say it again. I'm sure no one will be saying it again. It's the one and only time this will be said, unless it's in a joke scenario. I don't think anyone seriously is going to say that again. But I genuinely am concerned at the lack of attention from people. But I'm just ranting at this point. That's kind of the point of this. So I'm gonna head out. Thank you for listening. Come back for the next episode once I have it up, and I'll talk to you guys next time.